You know that warm, grainy glow of your favorite throwback filter? That isn't a memory. It's an algorithm. Designers don't replicate the past for accuracy. They replicate it for emotional impact. A CRT monitor flicker, a film grain overlay, a vinyl crackle effect. These are not details. These are triggers. They bypass rational thought and go straight to feeling. If not a design excuse to avoid cold efficiency, a deliberately rough font, a subtly out of focus background, these are signs of intimacy sold as experience. We trust what feels handmade, even when it's machine-made at scale. The imperfection is programmed. The trust is engineered. And now we can automate even this emotional mimicry. AI. Tools generate textures that look like decades-old Polaroids, or fonts that seem chiseled by human hands, all with a click. But here's the rub. These aren't just design choices. They are data points in a feedback loop of simulated connection. Nostalgia no longer comes from memory. It comes out of a box. Fathers once wrote that a photograph is never experienced as illusion, but as evidence of having been there. It's real because it shows what was, not what could be. But when AI fabricates memories, deepfakes of people we trust, saying things they never said, that having been becomes a lie with the same weight. The photograph loses its evidentiary power and becomes performance memory as mask. When truth itself is manufactured, it ceases to be truth. It becomes a commodity. We no longer trust the image. We trust what it promises to represent: memory, identity, history. But if those can be replicated at scale, then trust becomes transactional. And in that transaction, nostalgia isn't just sold as feeling. It's sold as a product with a warranty of sentiment.
Mid-century modern design redefined post-secure optimism through clean lines, organic forms, and functional minimalism.
Neil Postman once warned that technology doesn't just replace tools. It replaces how we think. Now consider this: technology also sells us feelings. The past is no longer a memory, but a product. Nostalgia is engineered into our interfaces, wrapped in warm gradients and vinyl crackle, designed to make us feel connected, when in fact we're being tethered. Just this week, a South Florida immigration lawyer's identity was cloned with AI. A digital facsimile of their face and voice was used to impersonate them in virtual meetings, not just for mischief, but for manipulation. This isn't nostalgia yet, but it points us there. When you can replicate any person at will, why not sell the past itself? Sentiment becomes another layer of code we outsource. We hear the voice of a product designer waxing poetic about how 1950s aesthetics make users feel at home. That's not just design language, it's emotional scaffolding. Every retro button, every fox, wood grain texture in your app is a psychological nudge. It tricks you into believing in an idealized past, so you'll stay on the platform. Nostalgia becomes the glue of consumer compliance.
The art attributed more to man's progress than any other art. By means of printing, the fund of knowledge accumulated through the ages is available to everyone, rich and poor alike.
We've been told that nostalgia is a personal thing, a feeling you have in your chest when you hear an old song or smell a childhood scent. But what happens when those feelings are no longer yours? What if they're not even real, but just the right textures and lighting and fonts to make them feel like it? To a designer with filters, everything feels familiar. We've been sold time loops, eternal 1960s, eternal 80s, polished up by new tech so we can never tell what was lived or designed. The final irony. We become nostalgic for nostalgia itself, a feeling sold in boxes, wrapped in vaporwave and synth waves and curated playlists. Nostalgia has turned back on itself, now marketing its own absence. What we long for is the longing. We ache ye not for real memories, but for the illusion of having them. And if that sounds familiar, that's because it was designed to.